Matt, we ready? Ready. All right. Well, I want to call this meeting of the Coastal Resilience Technical Advisory Committee to order. Appreciate everyone being here and everyone's work heading into this, our final coastal TAC meeting. Yay. We'll go around the room and are we doing a roll call, Wheeler? Or are we going around the room?
However you would like to do it.
Well, you want to, we'll do a roll call because I know we got a bunch of people online, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll do Wheeler will do a roll call if you're here in person, acknowledge your presence. If you're online, just unmute and say you're here. Wheeler, you want to go ahead and do it?
All right, this is in order of the organization. So I have Accomack Northampton Planning District, Ann Doyle. American Flood Coalition, Jack Kolakowski or Katie Malone.
Here.
Crater Planning District, Jay Ellington, Andrew Transition or Kit Friedman. Portman Row Authority, David Stroud. George Washington Regional Commission, Charles Boyles, Kate Gibson or Brianna Heath. Thank you. Hampton Roads Planning District, Ben McFarland and Whitney Catchmark, both of those are online. Middle Peninsula Planning District, Louis Lawrence and Curtis Smith.
Here.
Here.
And Nansman Indian Nation, Cameron Bruce. Northern Neck Planning District, Jerry Davis. Northern Virginia Regional Commission, Norm Goulet or Rebecca Murphy.
Here.
Office of Data Governance and Analytics, Ken Field, Marcus Thornton. Office of Diversity and Opportunity and Inclusion, Martin Brown or Michael Perez.
Here.
ICAR, Jess Whitehead or Carol Constantine. Plan RVA, Sarah Stewart or Eli Podema. Secretary of Natural and Historic Resources, Travis Boyles. Nature Conservancy, Jill Bieri.
Yes, here.
U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Colonel Sonny Avichal or Gregory Williams. UVA Environmental Institute, Karen McLathery.
Here.
Upper Mattaponi Indian Tribe, Reggie Tuppence. Chamber of Commerce, Keith Martin, Kristen Burhop or Ethan Betterton. DCR, Matt Wells.
Here.
VDEM, Robbie Coates, Deborah Messmer or Kate, and I'm not going to try. DEQ, Alexander Sams, Dave Davis.
Here.
Virginia Department of Housing, Community Development, Bill Curtis. Virginia Department of Transportation, Chris Swanson or Christopher Berg.
Here.
Virginia Farm Bureau, Martha Moore or Caitlin Jordan.
Caitlin Jordan here.
Thank you. VIMS, Dr. Mark Lukenbach, Molly Mitchell or Lyle Varnell.
Here.
Virginia Manufacturers Association, Brett Bassey. Virginia Marine Resource Commission, Jamie Green, Rachel Peabody, Randy Owen, Khadijah Payne or Claire Gorman. Who was here?
Randy Owen.
Thank you. Virginia Port Authority, Scott Whitehurst.
Here.
Virginia Resource Authority, Sean Crumlish or Peter Dilemma.
Sean here.
Virginia Sea Grant, Troy Hartley.
Here.
Virginia Tech Center for Coastal Studies, Wendy Strout, she's on the plane and her paid internet's not working. Virginia Transportation Resource Council, Michael Fitch. Wetlands Watch, Mary Carson Stiff or Ian Blair.
Ian Blair here.
And Virginia Coastal Resilience Collaborative, Thomas Rupert.
Here.
And did I miss anyone?
I wanted to let you know that Kelsey Wilkinson is here, but is unable to unmute from ODU.
Oh, who was that?
Representing Annie Gibson
And who's she representing?
from ODU.
Oh, okay. I'll promote to panelists. Roll has been called.
All right. Thank you. Again, appreciate everyone being here. I want to pass regards from Secretary Boyles, who is up at a Chesapeake Bay meeting and is not able to be here. So Couple of housekeeping things. Again, as a reminder, your mics are hot. If the lights are red, if you want to mute, you have to press and hold down the button. We have TAC snacks courtesy of launch. Thank you all. So the agenda today, we will have some of the usual business. We'll do reports from DCR. We will then go into reports from the tax subcommittee. So we will go through all of the recommendations. These have all been voted out of their respective subcommittees. Staff has made some amendments for purposes of consistency and clarity. Those will be, I think, redlined, Matt. So those are red lines so you can see them. This will be the time to ask questions about the purpose of the recommendations to make sure that everyone understands them. Then vote as a body to adopt the staff recommendations in a block, provided that no one has any concerns. We will then move to public comment, if anybody has any. So if you're public and you want to comment, please sign up or indicate otherwise. And then we will move to voting recommendation by recommendation. So if you have questions about the intent of a recommendation, that's number 5. If you want to discuss the merits of a particular recommendation, that is number 7. Our goal here today is to vote these up or down, yes, no, or abstain. We've had plenty of time for these things to cook in the oven, so we're not trying to wordsmith anything here today. So is there any questions on the agenda? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. The meeting minutes from the September meeting have been distributed electronically. Matt, did we get any comments back on the minutes? All right. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
All right. All right. Second. There we go. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Minutes are adopted. We will move on to reports from DCR. So I don't have a slide on this. I wanted to flag. I think this group got an email, and if not, we'll send one around that we have posted the Chief Resilience Officer position along with 2 supporting positions. So those are up. They're on the Virginia Jobs website. The goal is to accept applications on those until we have a decent sized pool and then proceed to interviews. Again, want to thank everybody who had a hand in helping get that through legislatively and in the budget last year. So very excited to have that going. Go to next. Wanted to flag for this group that we do have an open round of the Community Flood Preparedness Fund. It was originally scheduled to close at the end of November. We have extended that to January, partially in response to Hurricane Helene, while we kind of get a better picture of what the damage is there and potentially the ability for some of those localities to leverage some of these funds as they rebuild. This round looks a lot like the last round, a total of $85 million, $50 million in the traditional CFPF grants, $25 million in long-term loans for projects, $10 million in short-term loans for startup funding. A couple of things that are different about this round: Resilient Virginia revolving loan funds can be used as match for projects. We have also changed how the loan applications work. So before, if you were applying for a loan, you had to submit all your financial information up front. In conversations with VRA, we felt pretty comfortable that as these are local government applicants, that most of them were probably going to be credit worthy. And so we have changed that. Now you just have to indicate that you want the loan. And then if your project is approved, we will collect the financial information on the back end. So hopefully smoothing that process out a little bit. We are extending the approval period for resilience plans to 5 years in response to comments that we got from local governments that 3 years is not a lot of time. And then we are extending period of performance for capacity building grants to allow for a 5-year period of performance. So that's the round. It is open until January 24th. Anyone has any questions? We will go to the next slide.
Thank you, Director Wells. Matt Allen, Office of Resilience Planning, wanted to give you all an update on the Coastal Resilience Master Plan and our Phase 2 effort. That is due out at the end of this calendar year, so only a few weeks away. Just a reminder about what this plan is and kind of the area included in it. This plan is meant to be a trusted resource to help local governments, regional governments, state agencies, and other stakeholders to understand the risk that we're facing not only today, but in the future with flooding from the coast, from our rivers, as well as from the rain. This is a consistent analysis across this entire 8 coastal PDC region. So it's going to be helpful for us to use to compare those risks and understand kind of the relative risks across this region. It's a lot of information when we're looking at the 3 different hazards, all of our different planning scenarios. And so really this plan, I think of it as kind of a knowledge transfer. We've invested in a lot of information that can be useful to inform decisions on how we can mitigate severe and repetitive flooding over the long term. And wanting to get this out to people so that it's starting to get incorporated in different people's business decisions. We've also worked hard to identify different opportunities for prioritizing resilience by understanding what are all the needs across the region, what are the different projects and initiatives that are ongoing, working to identify where the gaps are between the risks and those projects and initiatives. And this will continue to grow beyond this plan, this list of projects and initiatives. It is a living database. We do want to continue to learn, receive updates on what is the current need, what progress have we made, so that we can continue to monitor this. So just want to take a look back at the process that we've gone through over the past 3 years. Again, thank you for your input on these different steps. I mean, we've gone through this planning cycle and have updated our impact assessment, looking at the major sources of flooding and updating our impact and working on getting those different projects and initiatives into this plan. And so this is the framework diagram that we've been using, and your support has been incorporated and your input has been incorporated to each kind of different step in this process. So again, wanted to thank you all for guiding us, advising us in this process, so that we're working on making this a more useful product that can then be implemented. But we know we're not done. We know we're going to repeat this cycle again. The plan's due out in another 5 years, so 2029. And we will look to make improvements on the process. We know we can always do better, but do want to thank you all for your input on the process so far. So I just wanted to get into kind of the 3 different forms of product delivery and how we're working to share the information and what's in kind of the different products that we're putting out there. So first up is our plan document itself. Similar to phase 1, we have a PDF document. We'll also have some hard copies for distribution as well. This plan document includes a lot of the information and knowledge that we've gained through this, but that's not easily replicated in our web viewer, which we'll get to next. So in this plan document, we talk about kind of the history of what we've done, where we've been, where we're going, some of our next steps. Your recommendations that are getting voted out today will make their way into this plan document itself as well. We also talk about the state's role in addressing flood resilience in the coastal region and try to provide some guidance on what we're trying to accomplish, as well as understanding for what others are doing. But again, we still know there's gaps and still have work to be done, and that's really a next step. So we will have, there's some key takeaways in this document. There's some figures, but a lot of the data and information that we have is really available in the Web Explorer. And this is really kind of choose your own adventure. Everybody has a different perspective, different interest, and different scale in which we're working. It's really hard to document and cover all of those different perspectives in a document that's consistent and concise. So this Web Explorer is really a key tool to help share the information where you can look and are you interested in the hazard? And if so, which hazard? Which time period? What risk tolerance do you have? So really trying to understand and make these different options available so you can customize kind of your experience to your need. But again, providing consistent data across this region. You can also look at the different impacts. whether it's transportation, education, buildings, people. There's a lot of different information that's included in this Web Explorer. And this is really going to be a key tool to interact with the information and to really work to understand it, digest it. And we hope that this is really supporting some of the decision-making tools that you all are using, or some of the different business processes that you have, that you can start to incorporate flooding into your decision-making process, specifically future flooding. So we're making decisions for the future. Let's start consider what the future may look like in those decisions. But we know this Web Explorer, while it's an online viewer, helps share all the data and information, may not work for all the different products and decisions you're using, or for maybe some of the different reports you want to produce and include some of this data. So in addition to the Web Explorer, we have our open data portal, which provides a lot of the underlying information so that you can load up some of the data into your own ArcGIS platforms and use it to create maps and figures for different projects or initiatives that you're working on. But we also have a lot of other underlying data behind this as well, which includes all of our pluvial models that we work to develop in this planning effort. A lot more of the granular depth grids for each individual return period, planning scenario, right? Between 5 planning scenarios, 7 return periods, 35 different layers times really 2 between coastal and rainfall driven. There's a lot of data. So if you're not finding something that you want or need, please reach out to us, because we still might have it. So again, please contact us with any data requests or needs. We want to get this information and knowledge into our stakeholders' hands so that they can use it. Speaking of stakeholders, I'm going to bring up Carolyn to give an update on our outreach and engagement summary. And really, who better to present on some of our successes than the person that's really responsible for developing this outreach and engagement strategy, finalizing our outreach, community outreach and engagement plan. She put a lot of effort into making sure we were considering the voices that we didn't hear in our phase 1 effort. So really appreciate all the work that Carolyn's done to really make sure this plan represents everyone.
Morning, everybody. So I'm going to speak pretty briefly, just have a couple of slides here. I've been talking, as Matt has said, about our outreach and engagement strategy and its implementation for this plan over months now. So just wanted to kind of wrap it up and share what we've been able to accomplish again so far, because we are going to continue to promote this plan after its release and make sure that it is useful and used by our intended end users, as well as to share it with the general public. So we had 4 goals for our outreach and engagement strategy for this plan that you see on the screen here. Between phase 1 and phase 2, both of the engagement efforts for those plans, I think we've had very strong engagement of our local and regional government actors. So you'll see the call out here in the bottom of the screen. All of the PDCs, obviously many of you are in the room today, if not all of you, and 82% of the city and county governments in the region did engage in some way, in a meaningful way, in the planning process. Whether that's uploading projects and initiatives to the user portal and the project and initiative inventory, or participating in our engagement meetings to talk about the challenges of flooding and their experiences addressing it. There was really good conversations with those different actors. Across all of our goals, we are working on additional data analysis to further understand our successes, as well as our opportunities for continued improvement. So more on that is to come. But for example, we know that state agencies are one of our intended end users, and trying to understand and capture how successfully we've engaged you all in that process and encourage the use of this data with state agencies is one thing that we are interested in learning more about, for example. So for goal 4, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more on the next slide, but we are continuing to think about this through developing a communication strategy to promote the release of the plan to the public. And then for goal 4 and goal 1, we are developing an outreach and education strategy to encourage plan uptake in 2025 for our practitioners and intended end users. I just want to acknowledge as well that many of the TAC recommendations, particularly from the Outreach and Coordination Subcommittee, but also from some of the other subcommittees as well, do speak to opportunities for continued improvement when it comes to stakeholder engagement for this plan. So we're also taking a look at those as we advance this work. So talking about that, next steps, looking ahead to 2025, of course, we are going to release the plan at the end of this year. We will have a press release. We'll post the plan on Virginia Regulatory Town Hall. We'll have it open for a 60-day public comment period. During that 60-day public comment period, we will host 2 virtual public webinars, probably in January and February, but the specific dates have not yet been decided. Those will be opportunities to hear about the plan in kind of that more interactive format. So we'll do a presentation and then have some Q&A about the contents of the plan. We'll also be promoting the plan's release through different electronic formats, through our website, newsletter, and social media. And we would welcome you all to help us go on your own platforms via email and social media and so forth. In terms of promoting uptake by intended end users, we're planning to have some roadshow presentations next year, likely some state agency visits. We've been talking to VDEM about going to visit them and talk about the plan contents, as well as presentations at conferences. We'll be at Environment Virginia, hopefully in March, for example. And then we are working on developing and implementing an adaptive management plan. So again, thinking about those different recommendations, particularly from the Outreach and Coordination Subcommittee, about how we can promote the plan's uptake and really encourage its use by our intended end users across the coastal region. Great.
We'll move to TAC discussion on what was just presented, Matt. Is that?
Yeah, any questions on the plan itself? Discussion.
Well, I just want to take this opportunity to thank Matt and Carol and the entire team who have been hard at work refining and drafting this document. It has been a tremendous effort on the staff side of this. And I know we've still got quite a bit of work to go before it's done, but just want to thank them. I hope everybody here will join me in thanking the team for this work. Not done yet, but excellent work. So we're now going to move into reports from TAC subcommittees.
So before we get into the individual recommendations, just want to summarize what we were trying to achieve with these recommendations and the hard work we've been putting in through the last 3 or 4 subcommittee meetings that we've been having. So we've been working on trying to develop high priority recommendations on how we can both improve the planning process, because we know we're doing this again in 5 years, as well as what are some actions that can help move us all forward in the next 4 years in between these planning process. This started out 4 meetings ago when we initially started discussing recommendations. And I mean, we discussed over 120, a lot of great ideas. All of those ideas that were discussed are still going into the plan in an appendix, but we really wanted to see what rose to the top and see what's the most important priorities from your all's perspective. So that we could, that's really what's helping guide our adaptive management plan and what we do and take next steps is understanding what do you all think the need is. So thank you for engaging in this process and putting in the time to work on our recommendations. So we're gonna hand it over to Launch to work through each of the recommendations. As the director stated earlier, this is really time to check for understanding. We want to make sure you all understand what you all are voting on in the later part of the agenda. There are some proposed changes that after we went through the different recommendations, because they came from 4 different subcommittees, some different terminology was used for the responsible entities. If you flip to the back of your handout, you have a list of all the different entities that are used and whether they're a responsible party or they might have been a supporter or beneficiary of some of these different recommendations. I wanted to point out a couple of the changes that we made. So there was some different discussions on how local governments have been discussed, whether local governments is kind of the all-encompassing kind of political subdivision and including the PDCs, or is it just city, counties, and towns? And so the way we've defined it in the plan document is cities, counties, and towns. So it's essentially the smaller version of local governments. So where we had discussion in our subcommittees that we wanted it to be the bigger local governments, we added in planning district commission. So you'll see particularly in the funding subcommittee, those are the red line additions that next to local governments, planning district commission has been added. So that's one of the main changes that was included. Commonwealth research universities, we had about 3 different ways of saying the same thing. So you'll see the different ways that it was listed in the back. And what we've come up with is just Commonwealth research universities. And so that's consistent now across recommendations. The last item is when addressing state agencies, and this came up particularly in the funding subcommittee, we were looking for who's going to help kind of guide and track this, where if it's just state agencies should be taking action. A lot of the terminology was then changed to the chief resilience officer requesting through the interagency management team to try to get to all of the state agencies, but to have some coordination on what's going on. So I think that was added in one of the subcommittees, I think project prioritization, but we'll get into it, where state agencies has been replaced with interagency management team. So as we go through the individual recommendations, starting with research, data, and innovation, and project prioritization, funding, outreach, and coordination, we'll make sure if you have any questions on what this means and the purpose, now's the time to ask. If you have any questions or comments on the changes we've made, or something's giving you heartburn, like now is the time on the responsible party, but we are not trying to wordsmith the action that's happening right now or the objective and outcome of these recommendations. So any questions on that before we hand it over to go through each one?
So for folks in the room, if you have comments or questions, if you'll just ask for the chair's acknowledgement. If you have a comment online, Wheeler, you wanted to raise your hand? How's your folks? Yeah, all right. So if you're online and you have a comment, I'll either drop a flag in the chat or raise your hand.
All right. And with that, I'll hand it over to Linda from Launch.
Hello.
Hi, morning.
So you have done wonderful work over the last several months, and now is the culmination of that work to take these recommendations and bring them forward. So our purpose in the next few, let's say 20 minutes to 40 minutes, if we're thinking we've got 20 recommendations to go through, is to make sure that these recommendations are understandable. So when you read it, make sure it's understandable. And then if there's anything that gives major heartburn, please say so. Other than that, our idea is that we're okay with each one of them, and then we'll move on to the next. Voting will happen later. So this is the time if there needs to be discussion to do it. So you ready for the first one? Here we go. Raise your hand in the room if you feel like it's easier just to let you read it versus me saying it out loud. Would you rather just read it? Oh, we're about split with that. Okay. I'll read some and you can read some. Let's start. Go ahead and read this for yourself. Is it understandable? And anyone online can jump in as needed. And does anyone have anything that they feel compelled to say about it before we move on to the next one?
In RB, after local governments, it's
Hang on, Louis,
contact-
we're not on RB yet.
Oh, it's just that the RA one.
We're on
Yeah,
RA
yeah,
and I
right.
Oh, I
think
didn't know if
Chris,
that was-
yep.
Individual.
Clarify from that subcommittee what across the Commonwealth is intended to mean? Just intrigued with it being the Coastal Resilience Master Plan. Is it coordinate?
So can someone clarify across the Commonwealth? What does across the Commonwealth mean? Is it coordination? He's asking.
I think it was recognizing that not all the universities are in the coastal plain. But this has been wordsmithed a lot in the, as we move forward, but I think that's why.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussions from Chris, you good? I'm good. All right. Any other questions or discussion from the TAC on this one? Okay. go to the next
Right.
one.
Second recommendation, I'll read this one. The DCR Office of Resilience Planning and other state agencies in collaboration with the Commonwealth's research universities and local governments should identify priority data needs to support ongoing planning and decision-making and recommend implementation strategies for fulfilling those needs. Is it clear?
Discussion from the TAC. Louis.
Yeah, so in rural communities, that would be generally the role of planning district commissions to help in that space. So after local governments, would that be appropriate to add planning district commissions since we do the ongoing planning and help recommend implementation strategies?
Matt, is that one where we would have normally added TDC?
Yeah.
We'll take that as a clerical.
Carolyn's tracking the comments.
Right, yeah, that's what I thought of.
Yep.
So it'll say with the Commonwealth's research universities, local governments and planning district commissions.
Uh-oh, we broke it.
Yeah.
All right.
You have to bring it up in that
Yep.
way in order to make that change. Okay.
We'll take that as a Scrivener's amendment there. Any other discussion from TAC on this one?
Okay.
All right, I
Going
think
on
we
to
can
the next one.
move on. RC, there we
Here
go.
we go. So third one, go ahead and read this one for yourselves. Is it understandable?
Any discussion or questions from the TAC?
Okay, going on to the fourth one. DCR's Office of Resilience Planning should engage with key stakeholders to understand local obstacles and gaps in state-level programs and develop a statewide strategy that leverages co-production of innovative state-level solutions to meet local needs. Any comments?
TAC.
All right.
All right.
Last recommendation from Research Data and Innovation Subcommittee. Go ahead and read it. Is it understandable? Is there any discussion?
Discussion from the TAC. All right.
Okay.
On a roll.
Yay, Research Data and Innovation.
Good job. Well, don't applaud until the vote.
Project Prioritization Subcommittee. Recommendation number one. The DCR Office of Resilience Planning should incorporate best available science into future iterations of the Coastal Resilience Master Plan for all components of flood risk to support appropriate project prioritization.
Any discussion from the TAC? Okay,
Second one, go ahead and read it. Any discussion?
Any discussion from the TAC? All right, hearing none, we'll move along.
Third one. The Chief Resilience Officer should request that the Interagency Resilience Management Team develop, maintain, and enhance appropriate data sets needed to assess flood impacts. The Chief Resilience Officer should invite broad participation from key stakeholders in coordination efforts. Is it understandable?
Any discussion from the TAC?
Did we ever define key stakeholders?
I was about to ask the same question.
Key stakeholder definition.
There was no. I think we discussed that topic a little bit at the subcommittee meeting and decided not to kind of formally define key stakeholders. We did talk about, I think that there is kind of a definition of who our key stakeholders are in the outreach and engagement strategy for the plan. But no, there's not a formal definition for that term.
Any other questions?
Just related to that, I guess, this kind of cross references over to several of the research data innovation subcommittee kinds of recommendations too, where there's different parties identified for thinking through inventorying existing data sets, prioritizing data needs. The CRO is the common bridge there, but there's the most key stakeholders could be those very universities that are identified in the first, as well as other stakeholders. More of a comment, I guess.
Okay.
Don't know if that.
So Troy, the microphone for you. Maybe a little closer. Go ahead and, if you don't mind, summarize your point there. You have a comment.
Yeah, the comment just may be that there's some cross-reference here between this recommendation and those in the research data and innovation subcommittee recommendations. Because several of those functions, right, about developing, maintaining, enhancing appropriate data sets relate to the activities conducted by the Commonwealth Research Universities or the IRMT in the previous set of recommendations. So it's kind of how you want to cross-reference. Well, there's a link there.
So there's a link to one of the earlier recommendations. Okay.
Any other comments from the TAC? Okay,
Fourth recommendation. State agencies should establish programs to engage with and support local governments and planning district commissions with an emphasis on communities with high flood risk and without flood resilience projects or initiatives. Involved agencies may include DCR, VDEM, and DHCD, and where appropriate, state agencies should involve the Commonwealth's research universities in engagement efforts.
discussion from the TAC. Okay. Hearing none.
Okay. Last one for project prioritization. Go ahead and read this one. Is it understandable?
Discussion from the TAC.
And to clarify, when we're talking about principles, we're talking about the framework principles from 2020. Or are there other principles?
The Coastal Resilience Master Plan does reference the framework principles. Any other questions? All right, hearing none.
Okay, project prioritization is complete. Can I say yay again? Can't clap too loudly. in my thing. Funding Subcommittee. The Chief Resilience Officer should request that the Interagency Resilience Management Team provide timely financial tools and reports to local governments, planning district commissions, state legislators, and other official entities. These tools and reports should clearly demonstrate the immediate and midterm costs of inactions to address flood resilience and inform appropriations. Is it understandable?
Any discussion from the TAC?
Second one from funding. Go ahead and read it. Is this one understandable?
Discussion from the TAC? All right, hearing none. Oh, go for it.
Yeah, I'll just ask for a clarification on economic development enterprise. Is not a term that was quite as straightforward.
Matt, do you want to? I had a similar question.
Yeah, we discussed this in the subcommittee. Open up if any of the subcommittee members want to join in, but just wanted to make sure it's kind of broad and all encompassing. This is not an official entity or organization that exists, but just trying to encapsulate all of the economic development organizations, whether they're public or private, that could participate here.
So I can add a little bit more clarification. Economic development in the traditional sense is the creation of jobs at the end of the day. When you put the enterprise around it, it begins to speak to the system of creating of jobs. And so that gives the context for what is meant by economic development enterprise.
Thank you, Louis. Any other questions or comments on this one? Anybody else online? Good. Okay. All right. Moving on.
The Chief Resilience Officer should request that the Interagency Resilience Management Team provide information to
No, it's the same start.
The Chief Resilience Officer should request that the Interagency Resilience Management Team provide information to local governments, planning district commissions, state legislators, and other official entities about existing, available, and emerging sources of funding, and financial strategies, local, regional, and statewide flood resilience initiatives.
There you go. Any comments from the TAC? Anybody online? All right.
You had to read it yourself. Is it understandable?
Any discussion or questions from the TAC? Anybody online?
Maybe
Okay.
just a
Whoop.
clarification question. This is Jess Whitehead from my car. This is another one where it's a chief resilience officer should request the interagency resilience management team. And that's fine, but are we creating a situation where the interagency resilience management team can say no to that request? And is this strategic, or is this something where we should just be assigning these directly to the IRMT?
Matt, you want to respond, or you want me to take a swing at this one? I think the way that, at least to my read, the way that we have framed the chief resilience officer, it is a collaborative position. And I think request is probably more appropriate here for kind of the way that we have structured that. It's just my read. I don't know if anybody on the funding subcommittee have a specific thought on that particular word.
Yeah, I can add to that. We were discussing that pretty heavily at this subcommittee about whether that should be a direction or a request. And it was that very notion of it. It's a collaborative effort. I don't think it would come back as a no, but just the notion of direction that we wanted to be mindful of.
Yeah. Oh, and is it just maybe something where, I mean, the CRO is going to have a role in guiding the IRMT anyway? Does it just become an action item for the team, knowing that it is a collaborative request? Or I don't know.
The CRO chairs the interagency resilience management team, so I don't
Right.
imagine in their capacity to chair that request would probably carry quite a bit of.
Yeah.
I think that the purpose statement supports why that's needed. Because if the interagency resiliency management team does not understand that purpose statement, money will not flow through the government system and you will not be able to do things. The purpose statement will really, we went back and forth about that, but the purpose statement becomes that binding must need to follow how money is moving through the system at the end of the day. So I think it's clear.
Wheeler? Go ahead, Whitney.
We add something like, and recommend opportunities to improve implementation at least annually or something. I feel like it's kind of hard to make this happen, but it would be good to continue to try to prompt improvements.
I would prefer to not do amendments. I think we'd rather just take these as they are or aren't at this point.
And that's about the timing.
What's the connection between grant and loan processes and the IRMT? Or would the VRA also be needed to be? I remember something when this recommendation was brought up, that it was financing specific and someone with financing background might be useful.
Sean, you want to?
What's the question is, what's the difference between grants and loans and implementation of?
Or is the IRMT the body of the government that we want understanding grant and loan processes for private public partnerships? Or is an agency more connected to the disbursement of those grants and loans a better body to be informing us?
I think the IRMT is appropriate just because you could have funding coming from a lot of different agencies. And the specific nuances of giving a grant to a public body versus a private entity, making a loan to a private entity versus local government. And this is just saying, let's identify the challenges and recognize the differences and make sure that we have an efficient process.
And just for clarification, VRA is on the interagency resilience management team. So they're part of it.
Any other questions or comments on this one? Good discussion here, I think. Everybody, anybody else, anybody that had an initial question, have a follow-up? Is everybody good? Wheeler, anybody online? Good, okay. Come on.
Last one for funding subcommittee. The chief resilience officer should request that the interagency resilience management team report on the effectiveness of state funding and financing programs to address short-term and long-term flood-related challenges for local governments and the Commonwealth, and consider additional financial mechanisms as appropriate. Is it understandable?
Matt, is this still a clerical thing where that needs to be PDCs after local governments? because we deliver the money on behalf of local governments for that.
Yeah, I think that's a clerical cleanup.
So it says related challenges for local governments and
And PDCs.
planning district commissions and the Commonwealth.
I will make that edit after we have the discussion.
Okay. That's it for funding subcommittee. Yay. Outreach and coordination subcommittee. Go ahead and read the first one here. Is it understandable?
Any discussion from the TAC? Questions? Anybody online?
So I just have one question about this is, I assume the purpose of this is a public list of available funding resources? Or is it just to maintain a list? Is it to put a list out there? I guess because it's under the outreach section. Is it to put a list out there or is it just to maintain a list?
I would imagine this is gonna wind up in the Coastal Resilience Web Explorer, right, man?
Yeah, so we are currently implementing this through the Web Explorer and the
Through the
funding
Web Explorer.
database. So maintaining and continuing to make this a public resource.
Okay, maybe we could add it to like the recommendation or something, just that it's a public list.
Again, in the interest of not doing a lot of work, so I think
Yeah.
if you can live with it the way it is.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, all right, I appreciate that.
Great. Anything else? All right. Second one. The Chief Resilience Officer should coordinate with DCR to provide resources and supporting information on the necessity of increased flood resilience funding by utilizing project prioritization and evidence of project readiness. Is it understandable?
I think this is the only recommendation that doesn't have Office of Resilience Planning. Do we want to not include that with DCR or is that a clerical?
You mean ORP versus DCR broadly?
Yes.
Was that an oversight or was that?
That the decision for our team not to include Office of Resilience Planning in this recommendation was intentional because our office does not oversee funding such as the Community Flood Preparedness Fund.
Good question. Other questions or discussion from the TAC?
Okay. Third one. The DCR Office of Resilience Planning should collaborate with potential end users of the Coastal Resilience Master Plan, such as local governments, by improving usability. This may include providing accessible and straightforward available virtual tools and customized technical support to develop locally specific project prioritization using the plan.
Mr. Chairman,
Who was that?
Caitlin Jordan.
Oh, okay, sorry.
For sake of consistency, and certainly don't know if it's needed, so I'm not trying to be difficult, but after such as local governments, I don't know if it needs to be and PDCs. I don't know if that's necessary or not, but just trying to be consistent. I don't know if Lewis, if you think that that's
think-
needed.
I think for purposes of consistency, we should probably add that. Right, was that an intentional?
I don't believe it was intentional to not include them. I think just because it was kind of referenced as local governments such as local governments, kind of as an example and
Sure.
intending that there could be others, we didn't include it, but I think it would be fine and appropriate to include it if that is the tax wishes.
I mean, if we're Is that I think that's the last reference to local governments, right?
I was gonna mention it in
Wait,
the
there's
next
one
one.
more.
There's one in the next one and that was it, but it does not
I
matter.
think if for consistency, we can go ahead and just add PDCs where we reference local government unless there's some reason that we wouldn't.
We'll add PDC. Going on to the next one.
All right, any other questions on this one?
D,
All right.
go ahead and read this.
I know I am. I know I am.
You have an H drive that's full?
I have one that has a lot of stuff on it.
No, no, this is.
Online.
Tableau can't.
Thank you. And we'll add PCs to this one unless I assume that was not leaving them out, right? Or was this the one that we just did?
No, this is the new one. This is the fourth, second to last one. So I'll read it out loud, adding planning district in it. The DCR Office of Resilience Planning should develop the DCR Office of Resilience Planning should develop a strategy to increase use of the Coastal Resilience Master Plan by its end users, including local governments and planning district commissions. The strategy should seek to identify and bridge capacity constraints within DCR and for end users that prevent plan uptake. The strategy should also clearly define roles for state agencies to support end users. Is it understandable?
Any discussion from the TAC? Anybody online? All right, last one.
Go ahead and read it. This one you would also add planning district commissions to?
Yep.
Okay. The DCR Office of Resilience Planning should collaborate with key stakeholders, local governments, and planning district commissions to identify the populations and communities at greatest flood risk and offer clear, consistent messaging that can be tailored to a community.
Any discussion from the TAC? Anybody online?
Okay,
All right.
all 20.
Yeah. Okay, we can clap now. Nobody? Really? Wow.
So we are updating the language, or is it updated?
Are we gonna take a break? Because I can do it then. Otherwise, it is not yet updated. I will update
We can
it.
just, for purposes of this group, where we say local governments, we're adding and PDCs. Everybody cool with that? All right.
All right.
So I think we're gonna do a vote on the finalized version. Is that?
Yes,
Okay.
a block vote to
Okay.
accept all those
Right.
changes.
So what we're gonna do now, this is just voting on the language that's presented, since we did make some technical changes. Again, we wanted to be transparent with the group. All in favor of accepting the technical recommendations, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, technical recommendations have been accepted, and so we're gonna move to public comment. Do we have any? I don't know if anybody signed up over there, but I only see two of you, so if you want to say something, now's the time.
Elizabeth Andrews would like to speak.
All right, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, you should be able to come off mute and speak. Let us know if you can't.
All right, I think I got it unmuted. Am I unmuted?
You are unmuted, yes.
Terrific, thank you. I have two comments / questions. I think the first would probably be for Carolyn and the second maybe for Sean and the funding subcommittee. The comment for Carolyn is in response to the discussion about key stakeholders. I think you mentioned there was discussion about a definition. I'm just wondering if the tribes in Virginia were part of that definition, especially the federally recognized ones, as we all know, are sovereign nations. And so they're really more like parties than stakeholders. But I just wanted to see if that definition encompassed them because I didn't see a reference to them in these recommendations. And the second question is for Sean in the funding subcommittee. I think it was FA was talking about the interagency committee doing essentially a cost of doing nothing study, it sounds like. And I know how thinly stretched our agency representatives are already. And so having them develop tools and reports on the costs of inaction, I'm wondering if there's discussion about how that would be funded. Thank you.
I can answer for the key stakeholders first. So we do not have a formal definition of key stakeholders. However, the outreach and engagement strategy for this plan does distinguish between kind of we call them kind of group A and group B, or primary stakeholders and more public stakeholders. And tribal governments of the coastal region are included as that group A or primary stakeholders of this plan. So based on that, I would say that they are kind of among our key stakeholders.
The subcommittee, as I recall, did not discuss how financial tools or reports would be paid for. It was just that these should be developed.
Any other additional public comment? All right. So will of the group, we can take a break or we can plow ahead. Anyone want to take a break? Raise your hand. All right. We need to take a break to set up Mentimeter. Are we good to go? All right. So here's how this is going to work. We're gonna vote yes, no, or abstain. Any recommendation that gets more yeses than nos will be included as approved by the TAC. For purposes of procedure, we will do a motion in a second. So if you are the chair of the subcommittee from whence these recommendations came, if you would be prepared to make a motion at the appropriate time, that will help us move smoothly through this. All right. So everybody, and one vote per organization. Everybody know how to use Mentimeter. Do we need to do a primer on that one?
There are some introductory questions once you get signed in.
Says waiting on presenter.
Waiting on presenter. Do we need to take a 5-minute break, Matt?
If actually, yes. So then we can update the language so that as we go through, because the language is not in Mentimeter right now. So let us update the language. And then we'll put the language up every vote.
All right, we'll take a
See what the final.
5 minutes enough?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
All right, we'll take a 5-minute break. We'll come back at, we'll say 11:07. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, no, I difficulty. Then I guess I wish I caught it a little bit earlier. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Get people finding their way to their seats. Snack bar crew back there.
Yeah.
Okay, so mine says waiting for presenter. Is that where it should be?
Yes, right. We always should say waiting for presenter on the Menti.
Right, okay. So I have 12 people connected. Has everybody in the room been able to get access?
Right. If you were in
That
the
should
room
have,
and you were
everybody that
not-
should have access.
If you're in the room and you're not connected, raise your hand. And again, one voting person per organization. And people online should be,
No. So what's up now is we're going to do a couple test questions in Mentimeter just so you kind of get the idea. So the question now is, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? And as expected, people have jumped in without any hesitation.
starting off with the tough stuff here.
So we're not displaying the results of this. I know, sorry.
Oh.
But Wheeler.
All right, vote your conscience, people.
Well, I will say that other and chocolate have tied at 7 votes each, with vanilla coming in third and strawberry fourth. So we have one more test question, again, just to get familiar with the tool. This one is a little bit similar to it. Prefer to have a cat over a dog, and the options you have are support, not support, and abstain. And these are the same options you will have when you vote on recommendations.
So support is yes, not support, no, abstain.
There we go.
And 11 support a dog, up, nope, we're up to 12.
We should have done as a hot dog, a sandwich. No, we're really. We'll save that one for the frack.
So 12, up 13.
Made it.
All right. So for this, if you would, again, it's 1 vote per member organization. So if you would just enter in which organization you are representing. According to our notes, we need 4 more people to respond, or 4 more organizations.
Wheeler, the people online are signed on to.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, all right, great.
Let me double check to make sure there's no issues. There was an editorial comment that I was asking controversial questions, but we'll move on from that with the ice cream and dogs. Okay, we have 23 votes. And moving to the first vote on recommendation RA.
All right. All right. So can I get who is the chair of this subcommittee here?
I move to recommend RA to be approved.
Is there a second? Second, any discussion? All right, we need to do something to move the vote, or are you just gonna, all right, the roll is open, all in favor, support, all opposed, do not support, those who don't want to have an opinion, abstain. Go ahead and vote. Have all the members voted? No.
Waiting for one.
Yep.
Okay.
All members have voted in support of this recommendation.
All right, thank you. Carol, entertain a motion for RB.
I move to have RB approved and voted on.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Move to a vote, all in favor? Support, you know the drill. All of the members voted.
All members have voted in support of recommendation RB.
Chair will entertain a motion on RC.
I move to have RC voted on.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please open the vote. Cast your ballot. All of the members voted.
My notes just show, or it looks like we just need 1 more vote. As of now, all members are in support Out of 22 out of 23. Up there's the 23rd.
All right, great. Chair will entertain a motion on RD.
I move to vote on RD.
Doing good. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, move to a vote. Go ahead and cast your votes. Have all the members voted?
All members vote in support.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion on RE.
I move to vote on RE.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, open the vote. All the members voted.
Members have voted in support.
Thank you. Thank the committee for their work. We'll move on to project prioritization. Is there a motion? The chair will entertain a motion to approve PA.
I move to approve PA.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Move to a vote. Members will cast their ballots.
All members have voted in support.
Chair will entertain a motion on PB.
I move that we approve PB.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? To a vote. Members will cast their vote. All the members voted.
All members have voted in support of PB.
Chair will entertain a motion on PC.
I move that we approve P-C.
Okay, and second, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Members will cast their ballots.
All members have voted in support of PC.
Chair will entertain a motion on PD.
Motion to approve PD.
For a second,
Second.
been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Members will cast their ballot.
All members have voted in support.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion on PE.
Motion to approve PE.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Cast your vote.
It is passed with 100% support.
All right. Thank the subcommittee for their work. Funding subcommittee, can I get a motion on FA?
I move to adopt FA.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll open the vote. Members will cast their votes.
Need one more vote. All members support FA.
Chair will entertain a motion on FB.
I move to adopt FB.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Members will cast their vote.
All members support FB.
Chair will entertain a motion on FC.
I move to adopt FC.
Second,
Again.
any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Members will cast their vote.
Just need one more vote. Up there it is. FC passes full support.
Chair will entertain a motion on FD.
I move to adopt FD.
For a second, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Your vote.
100% support of FD.
Chair will entertain a motion on FE.
I move to adopt FE.
For a second,
Okay.
any discussion? Move to a vote. Members will cast their votes.
All members support FE.
Nice. Thank the subcommittee for their work. I'll move on to outreach and coordination. Chair will entertain a motion on OA.
I move to adopt OA.
There a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Members will cast your vote.
All members support OA.
Chair will entertain a motion on OB.
Move to adopt OB.
For a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Members will cast their vote.
OB passes with full support.
Chair will entertain a motion on OC.
I move to adopt OC.
There a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Members will cast their vote.
OC passes with full support.
Chair will entertain a motion on OD.
I move to adopt OD.
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Members will cast their vote.
All members support OD.
And the chair will entertain a motion on OE.
I move to adopt OE.
There a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? We'll move to a vote. Members will cast your vote.
All members support OE.
Thank the subcommittee. All right, now we get a round of applause for the subcommittees and their work. Again, before we adjourn, I think this is the last slide, right, Matt? Before we adjourn, I just want to say thank you again to everyone who has participated in this TAC. I know a lot of you also participated in the Interagency Resilience Management Team, and many of you will be active in the FRAC or one of the other groups going forward. It's a lot of time to commit to this. It's an important topic. I think the fact that we got all these consensus recommendations out, the fact that we were able to consolidate this from a very large list down to a manageable list that I think will be beneficial to the report is really a testament to everybody coming together to do this work. So I want to say thank you on behalf of myself, on behalf of the secretary, on behalf of the team. The plan, as Matt said, will be released at the end of the year. This group technically exists until next February, so you're not legally off the hook yet, although we don't anticipate another meeting between now and then. So in the event that we don't have another meeting, I want to thank the TAC for its work. And unless there is any other business to come before the body, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.